this is all quite remarkable that Emerson is writing, right, to and speaking to people who are, of course, European and American, and yet he's always going to bring in that those outside sources, right? That's an amazing thing. The world-centric tendencies of Emerson's work. Well, let's finish with 3B. How are you going to relate this to yourself? Well, do you believe in reform? Do you believe in change? A great teacher once said at Orland High School, and it's in fact, when he was asked, what is your favorite quote, he said it, that the most important thing in the world is your belief that you can change. It's an interesting idea. Do you believe that others can change, and can we actually reform and change the world, right? In this essay, we can ask this question. Is this really kind of a dark essay? Many have read it as a really skeptical essay, that Emerson knows that his idealistic goal is impossible. You can't really expect that people will give up. For example, he will say it in this essay, we're not asking that the poor take from the rich, we're asking that the rich will willingly give to the poor. Really? Because what do we know about people in power? Marx, of course, pointed it out. Normally people in power and people with wealth, they don't like to give that up so easy. Unless, of course, Emerson is right, and those in power and those with wealth begin to recognize the value of going after that second box. That true wealth is not in owning things, because the moment you flatline, you don't get to take any of that with you. Finally, I like this question because I think Emerson would ask us this question as well. What's one thing, forget about the big things, what's one thing that you could reform yourself? What's one thing you could reform, for example, in your community, your school, your town, your state, your nation, your world? What's one thing that you could work on for yourself? Well, let's now turn in our next conversation to Emerson's self-reliance and see how we can learn to be dreamers, that is to say, to be Americans. And Emerson would say, fundamentally, aren't they the same thing? Thank you, and I appreciate you hanging with me.